Hi everyone, JK here from SSW. Welcome to the third part of where the SSW Sophie currently is at. And the next projects we're going to look at is SSW Sophie CLI. So let's get into it. You can see we have same instructions, compile, technologies, and definition of done. Just a quick word about definition of done. It's what you're supposed to do after a PBI is done. So essentially, you should test it. You should let somebody else to test it. The build definitely mustn't fail, and if there's any bigger changes, please report to me. And before you check in, please also check style cop. You'll see that in warning sections. So if you look the old project, you can see here the style cop rules. So we can ignore this one, the SA001. This is a non-issue, but if you see other issues, please resolve them. So this one is also not an issue that we're currently worried about. So try to keep the warning section clean. And once you're done with all of that, make sure that your backlog is up to date. That's a quick tour regarding definition of done. So let's deep dive into the application itself. The application was built by Igor, which usually works only on weekends. So I'll just give you a very quick tour how to use this application and where is everything. So you'll see here we have SSW Sophie as CLI Windows. This is the main application, the console application that you can use to either clean groups, add new users, try out identification and detect functions of Microsoft Cognitive Services just by using the command lines. It's pretty cool. If you ever need to change this, you'll see here you have commands, and here you have the existing commands like add users. This one is pretty big. It basically takes a JSON and tries to add all the people inside the JSON. This one is a bit simpler. It just returns the current version. You can have a little bit look around this code to see how to add more commands, but I believe you won't need to do any changes. The other one, more important one, is the Sophie API, and let's just make it a startup project instead. This one is the web API that essentially gives us the same functionality as CLI, but exposed as web API. And here we have controllers and APIs, and you see we already have a couple of them. The one that I want you to be focused is the identify. So you see the face controller currently only has detect, and what we're missing is identify. Identify should take in one or several images, and it should run identify method. So if we look into this, this is where you pass the request, and this is how you send a request. With help of mediator, you send a command. So what you have to do is create a new command called identity command, or in identity command you'll also have to create a new partial class face controller for identify, and on the mediation face you'll have to create a new detect command, a new command handler, which is going to be identify command handler. What you're going to have to do is do a similar code as we see here, but it's going to call identify instead. And what it's going to do as well, it's going to try to resolve the identities of the people. So you can use the camera app to help you with all the code. So you'll see that the code is very similar. Both they use detect, they both use identify, and both have similar ways how to work. Once you get to mediator, all you have to do is basically do the same coding style as Iger did, and make sure that everything works inside the web API. What I also recommend is to use a caching system. Like here I used plain old dictionaries. You can try to use caching, timed caching, to save people's identity. So here, when I get a person ID, I first check it if I already have it cached before I actually go online and take it. This will take a little bit less time to execute, plus we have limited requests per minute if you use the free tier. So this is going to resolve that issue. We'll have one less call. And when you're done with that, you see this line, bus.publish, and you see person detected event. We basically use Azure Service Bus to communicate with different parts of application. If you've seen the introductory part, the end goal is that all the parts are completely separated from each other and connected via the messaging bus. Because of the time constraints, we currently use Sophie API as web API and then call it directly from camera app to this web API to communicate to Magic Mirror. But the idea in the future is that the camera app as well just pushes the image into Azure Service Bus, and everything is done automatically, which essentially also means that in the future we can completely change how the identification system works without changing individual parts as a whole. And you can also use the face identity command in the SSW Sophie CLI to help you with. This is a similar implementation of identify, but for the console application. You can also have a look into how it's used in this console application and try it out to see whether you can add yourself and then identify yourself without actually trying out in the Sophie camera app. So this is a quick introductory into the Sophie CLI project. I hope this was helpful, and see you in the next video.